Hello.
Hello.
I'm Marika. I'm from Long Beach.
Hello,
and
Nice.
if anyone's curious, I'm going to embarrass my best friend right here. It's her birthday. Happy birthday,
Happy
Claire.
birthday.
She's 27.
Sorry you're wasting your birthday with us.
She's very happy. I guess if I could take a moment to separate ourselves from the television show, because we are fans and we love the show, I think there's a very unique thing kind of happening in your own lives, having the ability to be a part of this show. And you guys, there's so many people here. I guess I'm just kind of curious, when you take yourself back through all the auditions, through all the moms and dads driving you, to all of that commitment, and you finally are on a pedestal, you're kind of on this element where you are going to have some unique opportunities happen because of the success of the show. I'm just curious if you wouldn't mind talking a little bit maybe about some of that experience, some of the no's that you had, some of the yeses that you had, and maybe you can connect with some of the audience today who might be aspiring actors or... Or maybe, Julie, you wouldn't mind addressing for those of us who don't necessarily want to be faces of television, but who are interested in being the creative aspect of a TV show. What could you tell us, being in the City of Angels, in the city of Los Angeles, trying so hard to do what you all have been able to accomplish? How could you answer that question?
That was such a good question.
That was a great question.
Thank you.
First
You
of
must
all,
be a writer.
This is not a pedestal. This is a really uncomfortable small director's chair. I just want you to know. I think this question was designed for you. Dude.
I think it was designed for all y'all, but I'll answer it first just because you just...
All of y'all, you've been...
All y'all, you've been in Atlanta too long, girl. Yeah.
I think that, actually it was Zach Rohrig said this the other day. So I'm actually talking about the actor's experience more than the writer's, sorry. But he said, the greatest thing about all this is that in 20, 30, 40 years, when people talk about television, talk about this era, they'll talk about Twilight, they'll talk about True Blood, they'll talk about the vampire era, the explosion of the vampire zeitgeist, and they will always talk about this show as being part of that and being a successful part of that. And he said, and I will always be that guy that got to be a part of that. And it was so sweet, Zach, when he said it, and I just, his little blue eyes. But I think that, speaking for everybody, the opportunity to do this is such a dream come true, obviously. It can happen after like a long, long, hard road, or it can happen in an instant. Yeah. And everybody's experience is different. It's like the proverbial discovered at the mall versus you're 45, you've been at it for 25 years, and somebody finally says, hey, I like what you do. But you never take it for granted because it doesn't really happen very often. Success doesn't happen very often, and multiple success doesn't happen very often. So we just are very incredibly grateful to be part of that. So Candice and Paul.
Yeah, a lot of it's, I would think the pilot world in general is a lot of it is a fluke, I think, you know? Even if something's good, if it doesn't, test well or something, it doesn't go, and then it doesn't find an audience, and this, that. It's such a, if we're talking about television, I feel like it's such an arbitrary kind of thing, and I feel like you just sort of have to sit at a blackjack table and hit 21 eventually or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a very interesting thing, and it's an old adage, but the idea that luck is when opportunity meets preparation.
Yeah.
Nice.
Luck does not just fall in your lap.
Right.
An opportunity can come at you, and if you were not prepared to take advantage of that opportunity, it's essentially never going to happen.
Right.
So by virtue of that, it's a very strange thing, because this aspect of whether it's writing, directing, producing, acting, this entire business, life in general, is a lot about when you are prepared to accept the opportunity that's given to you.
Conversely, can you be prepared and never have any luck?
There are a lot of people that may be
But that is where positivity comes in.
Yeah, exactly.
A very big part.
Like how I went immediately.
No.
But
my dad always told me, no doesn't mean never, it means not yet. And so with all the no's that came a lot of the time, it's good to see, to keep working and better yourself, and the more opportunities for yes, and just to see the light and know that it always works
The
out.
single most important thing is to believe in yourself.
Yes.
I really believe that's a single.
Even when no one else does, because the amount of rejection that happens. Actually, you want to hear about rejection? The first time, yes, Julie rejected me once. It was awful, but we made amends. No, and Julie was there for this, and it was really brutal. Her and Kevin as well. You know, the process of booking a television show is an extensively nerve-wracking, nail-biting, awful experience. Do not kid yourself. You can believe in yourself so much. When you realize you want something in life, it becomes, the stakes are raised. It becomes very difficult to differentiate between whether you are worthy of this or you aren't. You just have to do what you do as best as you can. Namely, so I knew this was my role. I wanted this role. I knew I could do it. You go through a series of testing. You know, you meet the directors and producers and the writers, and then they go through a testing phase, and then you get an offer, and then you go test for the studio, which would have been Warner Brothers, and then you test for the network. And at the end of that network test, if they want you, then you get the job. You can pass the studio or you can not pass the studio. You'll never make it to the network. I passed the studio, got to the network, and whether it was too much coffee or that B12 shot that I gave myself, whatever it was, I choked in the network test. And I bombed it. In the first take of the network test, first of all, you're in a theater where you say a word and it doesn't move. It's this like vacuum of a room. And I finished the first take of it, and I walk out. No, Kevin Williamson goes, like, walk outside. So I walked outside, and Kevin Williamson walks out, and he goes, yeah. That wasn't good, wasn't it? That was
and
not
half
good.
the time they don't even say that. So you
No, but Kevin,
you're lucky, man.
No, exactly. But Kevin wanted this to happen, and he said, "That was not good, was it?" And I said, "No, it wasn't." And he said, "Just go back and do what you did at the studio. Go back and do what you know you need to do." And I did. And it necessarily, and I'll make this really quick. And it necessarily, I did what I thought I needed to do. I left feeling awful. And guess what? It wasn't good enough. And I had to go back and retest because the head of, you know, our big boss, Les Moonves, did not buy it, the fact that I was Damon. And I wanted to jump off of a building. And you know what? I went back there and I realized, and there was some other guy in the room, I don't remember what he was doing, something distracting. He was like singing while reading a book, trying to be really cool. And I said, you know what? Screw this. No. This is mine, this is not his. And I went in and did it, and oddly enough, ended up getting the call. But it was not after 10 days of virtual hell. And you don't always win, but every time you lose, you get better. Yep. And that is brutal.